Photo.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for him to, get back to me. We agreed to discuss this matter over the telephone.
Okay.
So let it be in the Senate,
Okay.
where I have protection under privileged communication. Because this some of these senators can be heavy-handed and arrogant.
Is that what you plan to do?
Well, I already informed the Senate President.
Okay.
Because he's the one who has authority.
Right.
And I already released my separate opinion to the public yesterday. Have you read it?
Yes, ma'am. It's right here.
It's beautifully written, don't you think so?
Do you plan to, does it mean that you plan to name the person who was basically conspiring, as you mentioned?
I already named him to Senate President Soto. So the public will just have to wait on that. Let's focus on Bongbong Marcos. This is the second time I'm fighting another Ferdinand Marcos. I'm 64 years old already. Ferdinand Marcos, I disqualified him because he's convicted 4 times of a crime involving moral turpitude. And when he was convicted twice in the regional trial court, in the Court of Appeals, he even deliberately did not pay the fine. Up to the day before my hearing, our hearing, he did not pay the fine. And the receipt that he showed was a photocopy. Photocopies are not admissible in court, no matter what they put there, which, by the way, they made a mistake because that receipt, photocopy, says it's payment for lease rentals, So there's no mistake about it. Under summary procedure, we are only required to have enough substantial evidence by which we can make our decision. This is not a criminal case where we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. No, only substantial evidence. What more substantial can it be when he did not pay taxes for 4 years? And when convicted, he did not pay the fine. So it's really moral turpitude. Is there a correspondent from Australia? Because I was told that in Australia, when you apply for citizenship and you violate traffic, that's moral turpitude, and they cancel your application for citizenship. Isn't that right? Qualification case. So it is in the interest also of Marcos Jr. and all the Marcos loyalists that this case goes to the Supreme Court as soon as possible. Why? So that if he is disqualified by final judgment of the Supreme Court, his wife can then substitute before the election, so there's no confusion. However, if he does not, and he keeps on fighting this, and the Supreme Court disqualifies him, let's say May 10, the day after the elections, then he cannot even assume office. We don't have to impeach him because he cannot even assume office. It is the vice president-elect who will sit as president. Now, even if he wins and he takes his oath, and then the Supreme Court disqualifies him by final judgment 6 months after the election, he will be removed from office. The Supreme Court will remove him from office and the president-elect will sit as president. Now, they don't realize that. But what they're trying to do is they're just pushing it, knowing that he's disqualified and he's a weak leader. The President Duterte already said he's weak. Imagine he doesn't even show up by Zoom in our hearings. He cannot get up at 9 o'clock. What? He cannot wake up early? It will certainly create a conflict. What they're trying to do is push it so that they'll say, oh, the people have spoken. They've already voted for him, but you people, you're weak in the head because the Supreme Court, that doesn't buy the Supreme Court. This is not a political question. This is an election, for heaven's sake. But I already know what they're doing 10 steps ahead. That's why I'm telling the public, these people, they're creating, they're doing shenanigans. The people should know who you're voting for. It is my duty to disqualify disqualified candidates like Bongbong Marcos. It is not my duty to be nice to them, but now it's obvious. Feralino is doing this, so Commissioner Casqueo and I cannot vote. By golly. By golly. If I were still in COMELEC, a few more months, I'll skin her alive. And, one commissioner texted back and said, "Thank you, Com, for your kind words when I described that, you know, President Duterte should be appointing these people, you know. They're practicing lawyers, or they were justices of the Court of Appeals, they're city prosecutor of Manila. By golly, they have gravitas, they have legal experience. But this Ferolino, she was election assistant, studied law at night, and then became election officer. She's never gone to court. So she doesn't know how to write decisions and relies on her lawyers. But this reliance is no longer an excuse, because it shows very deliberately that she's really hijacking the resolution so that I and Commissioner Casqueo cannot vote. So she's obviously for Bongbong Marcos. And the question is, I keep on asking her the question because I have to ask her the question, you answer. Commissioner Ferolino, were you bought off? If you were not bought off, then you should release the resolution so that Commissioner Casqueo and I can vote. That's why I released my vote, because people were saying, what am I waiting for my retirement bonus? By golly, if she was not paid or bought off, she should already release her resolution. But she's bearing all this, she's bearing all this shame like, like what do you call this? Like a dragon, because there's something at stake. There must be something very, very heavy.
Ma'am, wouldn't that affect his legitimacy if he wins? That he has a pending
if he wins and the Supreme Court will disqualify him, he will be removed from office.
Okay, ma'am.
I already said, I disqualified him based on those evidence. It shows really he's weak. President Duterte is correct. He's weak. He's really weak. Well, how can you? It really shows a weak moral fiber. Someone be governor, and he was absentee governor also. He convicted 4 times. Did not even pay the fine. Didn't even bother to say, "Hey, you people pay my fine," because it's very shameful. You know, he didn't care. He didn't care. He thinks it's above the law. He's spoiled. President Duterte is right. Well, I agree with him that Marcos Jr. is weak. He's spoiled. Well, that's already in his, what do you call this, commenting on his character. But I said, this weak moral fiber really shows in these cases. He has a weak moral fiber. That's why I had to disqualify him. Now, let's see if the Supreme Court will say I am correct or I'm not correct. So that's why it's in their best interest to just let this go up to the Supreme Court as soon as possible. And also the people, no? Because the Marcos loyalists, sayang naman, their votes will go to waste if he is disqualified even, before the elections, and then he will not be their candidate. His wife will be replacing him.
Guanzon, I'd just like to clarify, because you mentioned earlier, I hope I heard it right. You said that Commissioner Ferolino defeated your votes. So,
and Commissioner Casquejo's vote.
Yes, so you're saying
defeated 2 of our votes. She disrespected 2 senior commissioners. Now what do you think?
Yeah. So yes. So
how can she do that on her own without backing of powerful people?
Right. So what you're saying is that Commissioner Casquejo's vote was or is also to disqualify Ferdinand.
I don't know that, but that's probably the reason why she's hijacking the ponencia, because they suspect his vote is also to DQ. Because so there was no. That's why I was wondering, why is she holding on to this? Did the president order anything? I don't think it's like that, because we were mayors together. So that's why Sal Panelo, former spokesman, came out and said, no, the president, it said never interfere with constitutional commissions. If he finds out that somebody is throwing their weight around because they're close to him, he's going to get angry.
Because what Commissioner Ferolino is saying, that she hasn't even come out with her decision, and she's arguing that there is no deadline.
What no deadline? She should read that rule of 15 days. And if she doesn't like it, she can eat it. So that it doesn't exist.
Okay.
We have rules. We are a country of rules. We should have the rule of law. Even the spokesman, Secretary Nograles said, there are rules precisely for an orderly conduct of affairs, speedy administration of justice. If you just do what you like, what kind of person are you? Why did you seek public office? If you will not follow rules, you don't like that 15-day rule,